Which Side Podcast is a proud member of the Which Side Media Collective.
This week's episode is brought to you by the Which Side Media Collective. For the rest of this month, if you go on to Which Side Podcast's social media pages, that's Twitter and Facebook, and you like and follow us, there is a little quiz on there. And for everyone who fills out that quiz, you get $3. And if you're one of the lucky people, you also get a $15 gift card. Quiz is just basically a couple questions asking you what you'd like to see at the store in the future.
Yeah, so help us out. Go take the quiz. Help us get better products to serve you. And that helps the collective because then we will get more stuff sold so we can do more things.
It also helps you because you can get more stuff that you like. So again, just like us on our social media and fill out that quiz. Everybody's a winner. WhичSidePodcast.com, click on the social tab.
This is episode 206.
Yeah, we have Elizabeth Holtz on, attorney at PAW.
You know, Elizabeth is one of those people that I have so much mad respect for. She went to law school just to be an animal attorney. Like, fucking hats off, man.
Yeah, that's way awesome.
It is way awesome. I hope you enjoy this interview as much as we did. So, Jordan, what news and events do you have going on this week?
Well, on October 20th, there's a prison strike solidarity and letter writing. The location is still to be announced. And if you're in Daly City, there is a rodeo protest on October 22nd. So check that out.
Fun fact, my first arrest was at a rodeo protest when I was 18. It was planned. Don't get me wrong. It was planned civil disobedience. I don't know if they're doing that there. Just throwing that out there.
I saw somebody punch someone else in the face at a rodeo protest. That was pretty common here in Salt Lake, though.
This is funny, because last week we did a failure of capitalism, and this week we're doing another failure of capitalism.
Oh, I thought you were going to say success in capitalism.
No. But in 1929, October 24th, come on, you got to know this one.
October 24th?
October 24th, 1929. Come on, that is the infamous day the stock market crashed that caused the Great Depression.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. You know, last week it was another stock market crash that crashed it worldwide in the 80s, and this one was in 29, cause of the Great Depression. Gotta love capitalism. I mean, I'm kidding. You don't love capitalism at all.
Unless you're an ANCAP. Are you really kidding yourself? If you're an ANCAP and you're listening, just go to syndicalism already. Come on.
But I sincerely hope you all enjoy this episode.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side? Which side are you on? 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 Which side are you on?
So, how's your day going so far?
It's going fine. It's Sunday, so a lot of TV was watched. That's what I like to do on Sundays.
Watching anything good?
No, I was watching a terrible show on TNT, but I watched it for like 8 hours, so that's enjoyable in and of itself.
Terrible shows for 8 hours are my favorite.
Yeah.
I think I watched Las Vegas on TNT not too recently for the whole season or the whole series.
What is Las Vegas?
I don't know. It's one of those terrible shows.
I don't know. I just started season 2 of Mr. Robot, so I have some binging to do tonight.
You have to catch up.
Yeah, I need to catch up also, except that's the kind of show where you have to pay attention, whereas TNT is just really, it's relaxing.
Yeah, that is true. You do need to pay attention, unlike Mr. Robot. So what does your normal Sunday consist of? Do you normally just binge on TV, or do you try to get away from activism on those days?
Yes, I guess on Sundays I do very little, just watching TV and hanging out with my husband and our animals.
How many animals do you have?
We only have 2 cats and a little dog because we're in an apartment building, unfortunately, but they're still a lot of fun.
So let's start with what is your origin? Like, what really brought you into animal advocacy?
Well, I wish I had a good story, but I'm sure, like many other people, I just loved animals as a child, and that, grew and grew. I worked at my high school job was working at a vet's office, and that's where I learned I did not want to be a vet. I also don't think I'd be very good at it. I have pretty shaky hands, which is not an asset. And then I went to college and I was more involved on the companion animal side, which is a different flavor than I think regular animal activism. And then when I started law school is when I started, my first internship was with Compassion Over Killing. So that was my first exposure to that world.
So when you went over to Compassion Over Killing, were you already adopted a vegetarian lifestyle by that point?
Yeah, I'd been vegetarian since I was, I think 12. PETA caught me. They flyered me when I went to see The Phantom Menace, Star Wars. So I'd been vegetarian for a long time, but not vegan, and didn't really even think about it. So yeah, it wasn't until Compassion Over Killing that when I heard about it, Compassion Over Killing, you need to be vegan. So it's not like I went there and was like, oh, maybe I'll be vegan. I committed before.
Yeah. So how was interning at COK?
It was good, but I have to say I was there at the wrong time because I recently went to a meeting. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but they have a lot of space now and a really beautiful office building with windows and chairs. And when I was there, I was on a folding chair next to a microwave, and I had no table. And I liked what I was doing, but it was pretty rough because I didn't like the vegan cheese back then. I still don't really. And people just microwaved vegan cheese all day.
Oh, no.
And it was just gross.
So would that been the height of the vegan rela days?
This was 2009, so...
Okay.
Follow your heart.
That'd be the beginning of Follow Your Heart, right? I think so.
I know there was Daya running around.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, they have been around for a while, now that I think about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, vegan
it's no good.
is one of those things. It never smells good unless you're eating it and you're kind of well, I'm going to tolerate it, but...
I'm really digging the new Follow Your Heart with the coconut oil. I don't know if you tried it, but it's way
just
different.
The provolone.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah,
I haven't tried any. I should probably try it again. I really just had such an aversion in 2009, but I guess I should move past that. There are probably a lot of good options now.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're a lot better than they were.
And 2009 was relatively a good year, or time frame to make that switch, because pretty much 2007 we started seeing just leaps and bounds in food technology, right? Which is fascinating, but we usually don't try to focus on food because that's just what every vegan ends up talking about, right?
Yeah.
So what made you pursue your law degree, and then doing that specifically for animals? After college, I did a year of service with the Jesuit Volunteer Corps, which is a Catholic Teach for America, except it's not just teaching. And I worked in Brooklyn and doing welfare services for Latino immigrants, and I did not like it. It was really tough.
and I realized that to have a job at a nonprofit, it can be pretty, it's long hours and it's low pay. So I was like, if I'm going to survive this, I need to do something that I'm just 100% passionate about. And not that I'm not passionate about welfare benefits, and I am Latina, so, I thought it would be a good fit, but I just didn't feel that connection I did when I was doing animal stuff. And law school seemed like a good idea because, actually, in retrospect, I don't know what I was thinking because now I'm in a lot of debt. But back then, I thought it would make me, it would make people think that I was important. And you have to remember, even animal laws changed so much. So in 2009, when I started law school, I think maybe I would have been a little special. Now there are a lot of animal lawyers. It's like blown up. But I thought it would be just a cool way to get my foot in the door and make people think that I'm smart, so they should listen to me.
Has it worked so far?
I'd say saying I'm a lawyer definitely helps me in a lot of my work with local governments. I don't know if they think I'm smart, but they will listen to me some of the time. And they tend to dismiss a lot of animal advocates as crazy. And they seem to think that because I'm a lawyer, I'll be easier to speak with, which is funny since lawyers as a rule are terrible. But
so what was some of the things that you learned while you were interning at COK? It just seems like it would be a fascinating opportunity to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you know Cheryl Leahy is still their head of their legal department, and she kind of gave me an array of choices, issues they were working on, and just let me dive into one. And back then, I'm sure lots of groups are now doing this or have been doing this, but it was looking at deceptive consumer advertising practices, like happy cows and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So I was doing just a lot of legal research. It was not glamorous. It really was. It was just legal research. I wasn't like out on the town, like leafleting or doing things like that.
I mean, but that's like the backbone of those organizations, right? Like that's the real work, isn't it?
I think at most places, yes. I think COK is kind of special in that they really are also just a vegan they do a lot of vegan advocacy, and that's kind of a cornerstone in a way that it's not at other organizations I've volunteered at, which are vegan but not sort of proselytizing. But it was cool to do legal research for them. Definitely a good place.
What were some of the things like your takeaways from working there that you now use in your current work?
That animal law is not a field you want to get into if you want a lot of victories or you want quick victories. Mm-hmm. I think it was probably good to start at COK because they're really up against it. They've got it harder than other groups doing companion animal stuff, even primates, wildlife, farmed animals. Getting people to be vegan that's tough. So I think I'm glad I started out the toughest place because I ended up in companion animal advocacy, which is hard in its own way, but obviously very accepted in our society as something good.
So you say that there aren't very many victories, or it's a long time before a victory. How do you cope with that?
I don't know if it's healthy, but I just think about the animals suffering. It really is what I do because sometimes the work is really boring and tedious. And when anything's legal, it takes like 6 years. So I've never been involved in a lawsuit from the time it began to the time it ended. And I don't litigate now. So I've never really had that experience, but I just think, if I don't want to do this, I just think of an individual animal and what he might be experiencing right now at this moment that I'm feeling lazy.
You said that there's a a different set of challenges working with companion animals. Like, what is the big difference between focusing on companion animals as compared to other animal advocacy? I can't talk today.
Well, I've found that political leaning is you can't tell if someone's like loves cats or loves dogs. That will tell you nothing about them politically. Mm-hmm. To the point that, sometimes you end up, I don't know if you've seen this meme going around, cats' lives matter, which just offends me so much. Wow. And I would say that kind of sums it up. So it can be difficult sometimes to work with people who you disagree with on every other issue. And it can be difficult to work with people who are just willing to spend, and I don't want to, they'll spend every minute, every spare dollar helping cats, but then they, will eat meat. It's a bizarre world to live in.
I mean, all cats are beautiful.
Yeah, cat lives matter, but it's certainly not the time to say that slogan.
No, it's not.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that must be really hard. Working in such about issues that you care so deeply about, but they only, in their minds, they just take that first step, right? Where you see the whole picture. That'd be really challenging for me.
I mean, it is, but I kind of think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm kind of wondering if maybe it's going to change as the years keep going. Not in that these people will become interested in veganism, but they're going to realize that some of the forces that animal activists are up against, like the NRA and Big Ag, they're now getting involved in companion animal stuff. And I hope that as that becomes more public and as more people realize it, they're going to say, wait a second, maybe I support the NRA for whatever reasons, but now, this is a step too far, and maybe it'll make people reconsider everything.
Okay, I was unaware that there was that kind of transition moving into companion animal issues. Can you expand a little bit on that? Like, what's kind of happening?
I mean, I'm kind of just shooting my mouth off now. It's probably not like I wouldn't write a blog post about it, but I just noticed there was, what always comes to mind to me is a few years ago, there was a no-kill shelter bill in Florida. Uh-huh. And the NRA killed it not because they particularly care, but because, I think these groups are getting nervous. And so they're kind of banding together, hunters who maybe even like dogs and cats are like, no, we need a united front. So that was kind of shocking to me that happened. And I've seen it happen a few other times where you're getting groups who you think, who are just straight up going against dogs and cats, and especially dogs, man. I mean, that's like un-American. So I don't know. That's a little hypothesis of mine, is that if that keeps happening, maybe people will start to question
such a strange
their allegiances.
Like a no-kill bill? Like, why go after that?
Like, who's really against a no-kill bill? Like, that makes no sense to me. Mm-hmm.
Well, the animal shelters, I think, are probably the primary. I'm not aware of any no-kill bill that's actually passed. I guess California has some version, but they're usually defeated.
Is it just because of budgetary reasons?
No, I think the situation in some places between animal control or the shelter system and advocates is so fraught, so tense, and there's such emotions on both sides that it can be really difficult for people to want to work together now or kind of change their minds about a position. I see that a lot with trap, neuter, return. Now, basically not everyone, a lot of places are doing trap, neuter, return. It's becoming very, very commonplace. Mm-hmm. But still, you're having these holdouts, and now they don't, there's no scientific evidence backing them up because trap and kill hasn't worked. There's no community support, but they just refuse to budge. And I mean, I'm not a psychologist. I wonder if it's because it'd be too difficult to admit you were wrong all those years, or I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, it blows my mind. Have you seen similar actions being taken against the trap, neuter, kill kind of like work as you do against the no kill bills?
No, but trap, neuter, return has its own special set. You know, then you're going to have animal groups, kind of, not animal groups, but that sort of hazy line between environmental and animal groups. They don't agree, or we don't agree on this issue. So you'll have the Sierra Club or the Audubon, you know, really aggressively attacking TNR. And then you have the animal groups that are a little more focused probably on companion animals and sheltering, really supporting it. It can be awkward.
It's really interesting because this is a realm of animal advocacy that I don't normally go down. So the companion animal issue, it kind of blows my mind because you always just think everyone loves cats and dogs, right?
Yeah, you do.
So yeah, like what would the Sierra Club have against TNR?
Well, I don't want to. When I'm now saying the Sierra Club, I'm going to get in trouble because I don't think nationally they have a stance. I've just seen Sierra Club members or chapter members speaking at public meetings against it, it's because of the wildlife cat predation on wildlife.
Okay,
that's it. But just to get in my plug for TNR, as I like to say, it's a moot point because we only have 3 choices right now, and I hope that there's non-surgical sterilization in 10 years, and then I'm going to get a helicopter and just drop it all over the country. But for now, we can either trap and kill, TNR, or do nothing. That's it. That's absolutely it. And I always ask my opponents to give me a 4th option because I'd be really interested in hearing it. And we know trap and kill doesn't work because the U.S. has been doing it for 30 years, and the cat population got bigger. So I don't try to engage people on the issue of wildlife and whether cats matter more or less than wildlife. I say this is not a choice we have.
There is a very, there's a certain percentage of animal rights advocates that do advocate for trap and kill as well.
Yes, PETA.
Yes, yeah. That just blows my mind personally. There's still this mindset out there. What kind of confrontations or real criticisms is there of TNR that would want people to sway at that to just a trap and kill?
I spent a lot of time thinking about this because my previous job was at an organization that just did TNR. So I was a TNR lawyer, essentially. So it's a big part of my life. And I just wondered why PETA is so opposed. And I don't know, because I understand their arguments as they present them, on their website. It's because they want to spare cats suffering. But again, since trap and kill doesn't work, it's like you're having an argument where the premise is flawed. We don't have a choice between cats or no cats. So that I don't understand. And I've had people heckle me when I'm speaking, but I've never had someone try to engage in a conversation with me. So I don't know if I'll ever find out.
What's the kind of heckling you get?
Well, usually I'm giving talks on how to advocate for cats. So everyone's extremely nice. But I've given some talks at conferences, especially where the topic is broader than companion animals. Mm-hmm. And then I think PETA sends someone to every one of those sessions and has them heckle you at the end, asking questions. At least it's happened to a lot of people I know.
It wouldn't surprise me if PETA was doing that. I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't put it past them. But I have such a hate-love relationship with that organization because I wouldn't be an advocate without them. Like you said, they made you go vegetarian, right?
Yes, they did.
And they helped me organize my very first protest. But now I can't get behind them at all. Even last week, somebody asked me, they're like, well, aren't you a PETA member? And I'm just like, fuck no, no, I have nothing to do with them. Like, and and I have to draw these clear distinctions. It's crazy.
I mean, it is weird. I don't want to say anything disparaging, really, because I know they do a lot of work, but the ship's kind of sailed for me since, like, they had a lawyer when I was at Alley Cat Allies. I would send a letter, and then their lawyer would send a letter, who's probably like another 20-something girl who liked cats, like saying the exact opposite. So I don't think PETA would ever hire me or I could be a member. I think that, the ship has sailed.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I've heard horror stories about working in their office, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's too bad. I don't even actually know many PETA people, because it is a separate, they're an entity unto themselves in companion animals.
Oh, yeah. And I think they purposely kind of distance themselves from companion animal in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one thing that I got into a discussion with my neighbor the other day, which is something that I just have never thought about from an advocacy standpoint, is breed-specific legislation. So, like, what can be done, and can you kind of like go into why there's breed-specific legislation and maybe how prevalent it actually is?
Sure. Well, if you asked me a few months ago, I would say that we're winning and that these are being repealed. But I don't know if you heard about what's going on in Montreal, where it looks like they're going to pass a terrible breed discriminatory law that's not only, I mean, those are bad laws in general, but this is a poorly written bad law. And I think, it could end in the deaths of thousands of dogs, because it makes it illegal to adopt out any animal that looks like a pit bull terrier, which you may or may not know, but that's not a breed. So really we're just talking about stocky dogs with, barrel chests, and a certain kind of head shape. And it just makes it really difficult for people to own these dogs in Montreal. So that depresses me. But I guess the good thing about breed discriminatory legislation, actually, there's nothing good about it, but the good thing about advocating against it is that it's something that's easy for people to get involved with, which is kind of the premise of, I'm now working at a new organization called For All Animals, running a project called Attorney at Paw. And it's to get local activists or advocates involved in their local government, because a lot of these laws, especially breed discriminatory legislation, are decided at the county and city level. And unless you live in New York City or LA, those are usually pretty easy to get your voice heard at that venue. So it's empowering, and you can make a big difference.
What can you do if there's already, legislation on the books that's out there for your community?
Do you get a council member to repeal it?
That sounds easy.
I'm always shocked about the cities that I find out that do have it that you wouldn't think do. Mm-hmm. Like Denver, I think.
Oh, does Denver?
I believe they have some breed-specific legislation.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. I know it hasn't worked because I recently put together a fact sheet for advocates, and I've cited the failure of the Denver program. Though I don't know if it's still in effect. It's just people were really scared. People are really scared of dog bites. It's the same way people are scared of airplane crashes, but not car crashes. They're incredibly rare, but people fixate on things they feel they have no control over, which is how dog bite victims, I think, or people who are fearful of dogs feel walking around. And it's hard for me to get into that mindset, because I'm the opposite. I want to hug every dog I see. But I can see how if you didn't like dogs, it could be difficult to live in like New York City. So I think there's a knee-jerk reaction to that fear. They're like, well, let's just ban the ones that scare me the most.
Yeah, what was interesting is what my neighbor was talking about is that where we live, if you go one block north, you're in a different city, and if you go one block west, you're in a different city, and the city one block north has a ban on pit bulls, right? Well,
Yeah.
they have a pit bull, so they were asking me, because I'm, the vegan, so I should know all these things, that if they walked their dog into the other city, if there was ramifications, like could a cop stop them, or could they get taken away, or things like that. And these are questions I have never even thought about before.
I mean, it's so arbitrary.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, I like to base, and maybe because I'm a lawyer, and that's the way I think. I like everything to be supported by facts. I like citations. So I've never really approached breed discriminatory legislation from the point of just loving pit bulls, which I do, but you just have to look at the evidence. It's failed. It's failed everywhere. It's failed in the Netherlands and Spain and Britain and cities across the United States, but still people keep doing it. It's kind of similar to TNR in that trap and kills failed, yet still people cling to it. I don't know. I think we need like an animal psychologist to get into those issues.
I just hear horror stories, and it always just bothers me. Like I heard an incident of the police wrongfully went into someone's house, trying to do a search warrant, and they found a dog at a house that wasn't the one that they were targeting, but it happened to be a pit bull, and they euthanized it. And
yeah,
stories like that, like, it's heartbreaking.
It is. It's terrible. It doesn't make anyone safer, and it tears families apart, literally.
So besides like TNR and the breed-specific legislation, what other issues are really hot right now within the companion animal realm?
Well, those two are pretty darn hot. So it's hard to compare, but I would say retail pet sale bans, ordinances that make it illegal for pet stores to sell dogs and cats in a particular city. Those, you hear about those. Anti-tethering laws come up, but it's I don't know. And no other issue is like TNR pit bulls. They're so divisive. People will start crying, 2 minutes into speaking about it, whether they, are for or against it. Both sides are just, people feel really, really passionate about these issues.
That level of emotion must be really hard for both individuals, right? Like, it makes it hard to move forward when there's just so much that's, emotion driven. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always telling, because I'm, I guess, cold-hearted, but I'm always telling people, don't cry, don't be, because when you're going in front of legislators, you really, really don't want to cry. Mm-hmm. But I understand that impulse.
So you have to act all lawyery? Is that what you're saying?
I would say just keep a straight face, because we're going up against the crazy cat lady stereotype. So if someone just stands up and they're not in cat ears and crying, I think they've presented themselves well.
And I think that in of itself is a whole issue that as somebody who likes to focus on intersectional issues, the idea of having a quote unquote crazy cat lady is, misogynistic in of itself.
Yes.
But we allow it to persist even among animal advocates, right?
Yeah. We do.
Yeah. So what can we do about like these little things where it does matter for especially for for intersectionality and taking other things into account. Like, we shouldn't just be so singularly focused, right?
Yeah.
Did we lose it?
On hold.
What time is it? 37:40.
Hello?
Hey, sorry, I didn't I got silenced for a second.
No worries.
Oh, no worries. We were just talking about the idea of cat ladies being misogynistic.
I mean, I really think we have to fix it ourselves, because I obviously just perpetuated it by saying it. And I think it's tough because we sometimes meet people who fit that stereotype. So then we keep on perpetuating it ourselves, even though in reality, the people who love cats, they're men, women. Most of them are not, a lot of them have children. They're not little old ladies who have nothing else in their life but cats. That's not the reality. But if you meet one person like that, you can sort of start thinking or kind of easing back into that old stereotype, that maybe it is true. And so, but you're right. I shouldn't say it.
Wasn't trying to call you out on it. It was just something that I've been thinking about a lot. Just like the whole idea, not even just the lady part of it, but even just the crazy part, right? Like there's just the term in general. I don't know. It just, for so many reasons, but I find that we do that in a lot of other ways as well. So it's not just that issue of it. We always need to be aware. With that, one of the things that I always like to talk about is what are things inside the animal advocacy movement that you see going on that you just wish would stop? You just want to go away completely.
I guess I would say that I felt like the animal advocacy movement is really dominated by like rock stars, like sort of these vegan celebrities who are wonderful and charismatic and are doing great things. But sometimes I feel like it's to the point that it excludes regular people who maybe aren't as, charismatic. I know I've been rejected from just about every organization that exists. And that was really depressing and tough. And felt like that maybe I wasn't really part of the animal movement at all, that I wasn't wanted because I'm not particularly charismatic, or I'm not like a superstar. So, and I kind of feel that all the way down, even on the local issues, that people tend to gravitate, they want like a rock star. They think that they're the only people who can do things. And I think we're just hurting ourselves because there's lots of, normal people who aren't that exciting to speak to, but can still do a lot of good work.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really thought about it from that side before, but that does make a lot of sense. You always see like certain individuals always upheld, and not putting down these individuals, right? Just
no, because they are special because they are charismatic and they are doing such a great job. But it seems that that sometimes there's no room for people who are lame like me.
No, I mean, it's one of those things that we don't do a great job of really opening it up and allowing other people to get their input in, right? Like, say you're in a room with 10 people and, you go around and say, well, does anyone else have any ideas? And 20 seconds later, you move on, right? You don't give people that maybe need extra time to process, or maybe people that have a hard time talking up in front of people, the opportunity to take on some of these roles that they might be fantastic at, but there may be barriers for them personally to speak up or to want to do that. Like, we don't do a good job of seeking that out, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we do. And that's why I'm really passionate about my new project, because it's really about anyone can be an advocate. And in a meaningful way. I know anyone, and I don't want to disparage this because I send these out too, but like online action alerts, those are good to participate in and important to let your legislators know what you think, but it doesn't always feel as meaningful as sort of really getting involved. And I think this is an avenue where someone of minimal talent like myself and someone who's not a great public speaker like myself can make an impact.
So how did you actually get started on your current project?
Well, I was worked at Alley Cat Allies as their associate director of law and policy for 4 years. And probably about 50% of what I was doing was helping people pass TNR ordinances. And then I left Alley Cat Allies last year to move on to new things. And I just had been thinking about it for the past few years about continuing to help people in this way. And I found a great nonprofit that was willing to let me do it.
Would you mind going into it a little bit and kind of like, letting people know what you are currently working on and, just explaining it a little bit?
Sure. So as I said, I get involved in companion animal issues at the local level. And if it's a big city or like a big issue, like the pit bull thing in Montreal, I'll send a letter myself and inject myself into that debate unasked. But in most other cases, I found it's best for advocates to contact me. So I'd encourage them to go to the website attorneyatpa.org, and they can contact me if they're working with their local legislators or they want to introduce an ordinance. And I will just give them support, I think is the best way to put it. Because, even sometimes people say, oh, just come in and fix it. But I can't, one, because I don't have any money to travel, and two, because local legislators care about their constituents. They don't care what I think. So it's just helping people unify and giving them a voice, giving them some talking points so they don't have to reinvent the wheel every time on these issues. And it's just support, whatever they need.
What kind of specific things are you looking for people that come to you for support in? Is it just around like the TNR and breed stuff, or is it a broader range of issues?
Sure. So it's TNR, retail pet sale bans, breed discriminatory legislation, and anti-tethering. So if someone is trying to pass a local law on one of those issues, and they want help, they should contact me.
What about like declawing bans and things like that?
Well, we kind of threw that in there because we wanted to have like a hearty list, and I do some work on decline, but California is the only state that has cities that have passed them, so it definitely would be a more uphill battle to get one of those passed. But if someone is interested in doing that, I'm more than happy to help them. We'd both kind of be learning on the way, but. Yeah.
So we already talked about something like you want to see kind of go away. What is something that you don't see happening that you wish you did see happening inside the animal advocacy movement?
I suppose being more accepting of different, there's kind of this idea of the animal advocate as who, how they might look. And not just, that they're white, which is a big one, but also, their religion. Like, for example, I'm involved with a Catholic animal rights organization, and that's not typical. I'd say I don't feel that Catholicism or generally an organized religion is particularly welcome. So I'd like to see just us getting bigger and expanding to include people who are coming at it from different angles.
What kind of hostility do you get about religion?
Well, a lot of people don't like Catholicism in general, so maybe I'm overly sensitive about it. Other people don't have that problem, but just that there are issues with the church that. And the stance of women in it. So I think it can be confusing to people why you would be, doing all this work on behalf of animals and generally have all these cool liberal leanings, but then be part of an organization that is very fairly able to be criticized.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Catholics that do a lot of animal advocacy. I mean, the Meet Your Meat, wasn't that done by Bruce? And he's pretty hardcore Catholic as well, right?
Yes, there definitely are.
Yeah.
I didn't mean, it's not like we're a persecuted group, but I do think in terms of like the social scene, it's not very cool.
That's interesting because I, as someone who is an atheist, now I'm wondering if I give off that vibe, or if I do, make those kind of comments or do those things. So it's something I've never actually thought about, right? So I'm glad that you're making me at least think about it, because it's never been. I've always just been, oh, okay, you're Catholic. It's never been an issue, but it's yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's not because I want everyone to be nice to religious people or something. It's also because I think we're hurting ourselves by not incorporating it. I know, with like farm ballot initiatives in certain states, Catholic or, whatever religion, they have power. And if you reach those people through a different avenue who might not usually be open to veganism, but if you kind of go at it from a different angle, I've found people are, interested in discussing it. I think it's going to open up, it's going to make the movement a lot more powerful.
So since you've been involved in like the greater animal rights movement since about 2009, what are some of the bigger changes that you've seen happen inside the movement itself?
Definitely with TNR, it's crazy. And probably people who have been at it longer than me can really appreciate it. But the difference between 2009 and 2011 was insane. Just from TNR being something that was sort of advocated by just people who liked cats, to something that is now, endorsed by lots and lots of different local legislatures, veterinary schools. It's mainstream. That's the biggest difference.
So with that difference, what can we do moving forward to continue and get better at it?
I think just get involved at the local level. I think, this year with the election, things feel terrible and people are generally disillusioned with the federal government, and they say, what I hear a lot from people, not in the animal movement, but just in general, is, I love dogs. I love cats, but I hate politics. And I would challenge them to get involved at the local level. And it's really not that bad, because the federal government and, a city council of a town of 10,000, they're different worlds. You can have a lot of power. People sometimes listen to you. And some of the issues that come up, in the national election, they're just not there because the city councils aren't dealing with it, for better or for worse.
I was going to ask, why do you think the declawing issue hasn't changed?
Well, the veterinary lobby has, I think, put a fair amount of money into killing all of the state bills that come up. I don't know. It's a pretty sensitive issue. So sensitive that I don't even want to be on tape. But I mean, I think part of it is that decline is lucrative for some vets. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Well, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it makes sense, right? Yeah.
Because there's no benefit to it. In the studies, no one said it hasn't actually reduced shelter admissions, because the argument that's usually trotted out is, if I don't declaw the cat, then the person will take him to the shelter. That's not supported by any studies, and declawed cats often, or not often, but declawed cats can experience behavioral problems after decline, like not using the litter box and biting, so they'd end up at the shelter anyway. So it's tough because it's not one of those issues where you have, to me, it doesn't seem like there are really two sides. Just one big side. Shouldn't declaw.
Yeah.
I mean, one of our rescued cats is declawed, and we picked it up at the shelter. And he seems to always stretch out his hand as if, or his paw, as if something's going on. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's very common to have declawed cats at the shelter, like you were saying. It doesn't.
Yes, it is.
Seem to reduce the rate of it at all.
No, it doesn't. So it's frustrating. And no group that's sort of working on behalf of companion animals like HSUS or PETA, ASPCA, all the big guys, they don't support decline. And so when the opponents are like, more animals will be killed, you've got to really question the truth of that, just thinking about, well, then why is every animal group out there that cares about animals saying the opposite, and saying, I think certainly everyone just wants to save as many animals as possible, and decline is not a way to do that.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us. What are some ways that people can get in touch and find out more information about what you're doing?
Sure, they can go to the website attorneyatpaw.org, and there's a little button that you can hit that I think says request help or request more information or contact, and that's how you get in touch with me. Or I would encourage people to like our Facebook page. And the Attorney at Paw is just a project. It's not an organization. So the organization is called For All Animals, and we will be updating people with resources as we create more educational resources for local advocates. And we will be putting those links on Facebook.
This week you heard
Slowly by Amon Tobin.
Right now you're listening to
Lost in Thought by John Hopkins. iTunes. Every week we're saying go rate and review us. And I wanted to give another shout out to Infinity and Abroad, who left this pretty fucking sweet review for us on iTunes. They said, favorite podcast. Honestly and sincerely, my favorite podcast on the market. It feels really natural and effortless the way they go about their interviews so that you never know what to expect. Always a good range of interviews and topics. They make me want to move to Salt Lake and be their friends. Also, thanks for the Nooch popcorn idea. Life-changing. Dude, one, come to Salt Lake and hang out.
Yeah.
I mean, we just finished playing games, so you can always play games. We love games. But Nooch popcorn is the shiz.
So good.
Ugh.
We also got this review on Facebook from Jandra Lane. LOL, I just love to listen to you guys try to understand primitivism. You basically rip it to shreds, but with such class, grace, and politeness.
I've never been called polite in my life.
I've never had class. But thank you.
Yeah, thank both of you. So go rate and review us on your favorite podcast aggregator. And then we have social media too, where you can leave us fun notes.
I'm just ready to end it. Fuck shit damn.
Fuck shit damn.
Which Side Podcast is hosted and produced by Jordan Halliday and Jeremy Parkin of the Which Side Media Collective, with web design by Jordan Halliday and sound design by Jeremy Parkin. Booking by Mari Halliday. Theme music by Commandantes. Go to whichsidecollective.org to check out the other shows in the collective. As always, fuck shit damn.